this topic sounds really scary. Evaluating a piecewise defined function. And basically what it's going to do is, I don't know if it's going to look scary to you or not, but let's just take a peek at what one looks like. So let's say we have a function, and instead of it being defined by one equation, this one's going to have more than one. And it's going to look a little bit intimidating, but it's kind of just using a little bit of logic and then following PEMDAS in general if you need to. And then the other part is, let's say that I need an equal sign there. Alright, so we have two pieces to this function. One function, well, I'll read it the way a math book would read it. The function of x is equal to 1/3 x squared minus 5 if x equals -2. I'm sorry, that should be not equals -2. And h of x equals 4 if x indeed does equal -2. So what they want us to do is they want us to evaluate h of -4, they want us to evaluate h of -2, and they want us to evaluate h of 11. Okay. What we're going to do now is we're just going to look at each case. So in this case here, this is saying, hey, stick in -4 for x. So which one do we put it in? We'll go up here to your qualifiers. Is x not equal to -2? Yes, in this case it's equal to -4, which is not equal to -2. So that tells us we need to use 1/3 x squared minus 5. So 1/3, there's our x, so we're going to put in -4 squared minus 5. We need to square our -4, so that's going to turn into a positive 16. And then 1/3 of 16, I'm just going to leave it as 16/3 minus, and since I'm going to need common denominators for this, I'm going to change the 5 into 15/3, and 16/3 minus 15/3 gives me 1/3. Alright, same deal for this guy. It's saying, hey, when you have -2 for an x value, what is your answer going to be? So we go up here. When we have -2, well, -2 is not equal to -2, but this is the case that we're looking at right here. If x is -2, yes, x is -2. Our answer is plain and simple, it's 4. We don't need to do anything else because that's what it's telling us to do. It's saying, hey, the answer is 4. Whenever you have x is -2, the y value is going to be 4. The last one they give us is 11. This is another case where x is not equal to -2, so we have to return to our ugly equation, 1/3 x squared minus 5. I'm going to take out that x squared, and I'm going to put in an 11 squared. So 1/3, 11 times 11 is 121. So 121/3 minus, and again I'm going to change this to 15/3. 121 minus 15 will give me 116/3, and that will not reduce, and I'm not going to change it to a mixed number. I am just going to leave it the way it is, and that is the ugly answer, but that's okay. I did the rules, I followed the rules, I simplified, I applied order of operations, so that's all set. Alright, let's try another one. Let me move this out of the way. This time we're going to have a little bit bigger piecewise. Alright, the first part is f of x is going to equal 1/4 x plus 1 for what values? Only if x is less than -1. F of x is going to equal the opposite of x plus 1 squared for what values? If x is equal or bigger to -1 but less than 2. And the third thing is f of x is going to equal to -1/4 x minus 2 for all values where x is greater than or equal to 2. So the first thing they want us to evaluate is what is f of -2. If you need to hit the pause button for a minute to get this copied down into your notes, I would highly suggest, number one, that you have it in your notes, number two, to use the pause button feature. I tend to write and talk a little bit quickly. Alright, so the first one is, what is the function when x is -2? That's what this is saying here. So if we go up to our chart, always come to this end of your things because we want to figure out which one to use. So f is -2. Well, is -2 less than -1? I'm looking at the top one. Is -2 less than -1? Yes, it is. So we don't need to go any further. I'm going to use this equation. So our answer is going to be 1/4 times x, which happens to be -2, plus 1. we need to follow through with order of operations. A quarter of negative 2 turns out to be, let's see, we can reduce. That is going to be 1/2 negative. And, whoops, I think I have 2 negative signs there. Plus 1. Negative 1/2 plus 1 is going to give us a positive 1/2. The next one that they want us to evaluate, they want us to find f of 0. So they're saying, all right, when x is 0, what is the function? So if we go to up here to the top and we look at that first one, is 0 less than negative 1? No. So we're not going to use the top equation. Let's look at the middle one. Is 0 bigger than negative 1? Yes. And is it less than 2? Yes. So we need to take our second one. And the second equation is the opposite of x, which is 0, plus 1 squared. So apply order of operations. In the parentheses is 0 plus 1, which is 1. Now we apply exponents, so it's going to be 1 squared, and the opposite of 1 squared is negative 1. So that's our value for the function when x is 0. The third one is they want us to evaluate when x is 2. So the top, if we look at the top equation, is 2 less than negative 1? Nope, we're going to ignore that. The middle one, is 2 greater than or equal to negative 1? Yes. Is it less than 2? No, 2 is not less than 2. So we go to the third one. Is 2 greater than or equal to 2? Yes. So we're going to use our bottom equation there, and that is negative 1/4 times x, our x value here is 2, minus 2. So now we apply the order of operations. We end up with a negative 1/2. Minus 2, which gives us negative 2.5 if you want, or negative 5/2. Either one is totally fine to write. Alright, let's try one more. Alright, slide this guy out of the way. This time, let's say that we have a function, and we'll go back to a tour. F of x is piecewise, and this one looks like negative 3/4 x minus 1 if x does not equal negative 2. And the second part of this function is f of x is going to equal 1 if x does equal negative 2. The first thing they want us to evaluate is f of negative 5. So when x is negative 5, it's definitely not equal to negative 2. So we're going to use our top equation that they gave us. Negative 3/4, there's an x, so we have to put in negative 5 minus 1. If we do the math out, negative 3 times negative 5 is positive 15/4 minus, and I am going to change the 1 over to 4/4. 15 minus 4 is 11/4. We'll be able to, oops, sorry, that was my dog. And if you can hear that, that's my cat. Now they want us to evaluate this function when f is negative 2. So if we look at our top piece, it says you can only use this when x is not equal to negative 2. Well, now we're talking about x being negative 2. So we go to our second piece of the function, and the answer is just plain old 1. Nice and easy, no math to do on that one. And finally, they want us to evaluate the function when f is positive 2. So if we look back at our top function, it says use this equation if x is not equal to negative 2. Well, x is equal to 2, so it's not equal to negative 2. So we're back to our original equation again. 3/4, our x value is 2. Do a little bit of math, we end up with negative 6/4 minus 1, negative 6/4 minus 4/4, and then we're going to end up with negative 10/4, which of course we need to reduce to negative 5/2. You could also say negative 2.5 if you want, either way. So I think the gist of these problems is mostly to interpret these and put them into English and say, this x value is now this, and then come to the original equation that they gave us and figure out which one you need to use. So let's try one more. This one would be a good one for you to copy down and then hit pause, try to work it out yourself, and then come back and see if you got the right answer. Alright. This one, let's see, is going to be h of x equals, this will be a 3-er, 1/2 x plus 2, and that's going to occur when x is less than or equal to negative 2. The second piece is x minus 1 squared. And that's going to occur if x is bigger than negative 2, but smaller than positive 2. I need an x in there. X. And then the third piece is negative 1/4 times x minus 2, and that is if x is greater than or equal to 2. The three things they want us to evaluate is what is the value when x is negative 2, what is the value when x is 1, and what is the value when x is positive 4. So like I said, if you want to hit the pause button and copy this down, figure them out for yourselves, and then hit play and see if we match answers, that would be a great idea to do. Okay, our first one is saying x is negative 2. So if we go up to our top, I'm going to actually switch colors here. If we go up to our top equation, then it says use this equation if x is less than or equal to negative 2. Well, we're talking about x being less than negative 2. So I'm going to plug that in. 1/2, there's my x, which is negative 2, plus 2. 1/2 times negative 2 gives me negative 1, and negative 1 plus 2 gives me positive 1. The next value they want us to look at is x being positive 1. Well, I know I can eliminate the top one. The middle one says use this as if x is bigger than negative 2, 1 is bigger than negative 2, or less than 2, and 1 is also less than 2. So that's the one I need to use. X minus 1 squared. When I plug in my x value of 1, 1 minus 1 is 0, and 0 squared is 0. Alright, and then the final one is they're saying, alright, x is 4. Well, if I go to the bottom statement in my piecewise description, I need to use that one if x is bigger than or equal to 2. And 4 is definitely bigger than 2. So that's the one I'm going to use. Negative 1/4, put in my x value of 4, minus 2. When I do the multiplication of the fractions, that's going to turn into negative 1. Negative 1 minus 2 gives me negative 3. Alright, I hope that helped. It's just a matter of taking time. It does look it does look kind of disgusting, but if you can just, like I said, define what these things mean, and then just tie in each of your x values to which ones, which case it hits, it's all really logical if you can just take some breaths after you see something so ugly. So I hope this helped, and I will talk to you guys later.